Hi, folks. Today we're here with Ron Chu, who is our new AARP Washington State President. Ron, I'm so happy that you could join us here today.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here.
Ron, I thought we would start this conversation so folks could get to know you a little bit. I have heard that you can be found running through the neighborhood in Beacon Hill, and would love to hear a little bit about your healthy habits, because I know if there's one thing I know about you is that you really think a lot about making sure that as you age, that you are doing it in the healthiest way possible.
Boy, I'm almost a little chagrined to reveal this, but I run every morning around the neighborhood. I get up early. I'm a morning person. It's a habit that I developed from being a single parent for many years. Is the one time I had to myself was in the morning while the kids were sleeping. So I'd sneak out and run around the block and be out there for a little bit. And then I'd come back, make breakfast, get the kids off to school, and get myself off to work. But I continued that habit. The particular part of the habit is running every morning. So I get up usually around 4 or 5 in the morning,
Right.
and I go run for an hour and a half. I run usually 10 to 12 miles every morning. I do that because it's relaxing, it's my own time, but also to stay healthy and fit. I'm in my 7th decade, and I want to keep type 2 diabetes away, as far away as possible. And, it's good to keep that old machine going. And, there are a lot of documented benefits to that. So that's my healthy habit, is a slow run every morning to get my brain functioning and to keep as healthy as possible.
So I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's a different intro to then how people often introduce you, or I've heard you introduced. Ron, do you want to tell folks a little bit about sort of who you are? Because I think you've been known as both an activist, as a journalist, and so many different visions, I think, and aspects of your life.
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, I'm the child of immigrant parents. My mother worked in the sewing factories in Pioneer Square during an era where most of the Chinese women in the community worked in these sewing factories for very low wages. My father worked in a restaurant in Chinatown, a chop suey restaurant. And I worked actually alongside him. He was a waiter, and I was a busboy from age 13. And that's how I spent my growing up years. I developed, during the time I was at the restaurant, a keen interest in a lot of the stories of the older men who were waiters. They were kind of like my uncles. They were men of the bachelor era society, when women had a very difficult time coming to this country. And so I learned a lot about my own history there, and then ultimately that kindled my interest in becoming a writer, journalist, which I did as editor of the International Examiner newspaper for a number of years, then pivoted to a career as director of the Wing Luke Museum for 17 years, and then later as the director of International Community Health Services Foundation, which provides health care to immigrant and refugee members of our community.
So I think out of all of those different professional titles, I think one of the things that I know most about you is storytelling, or is your role as a storyteller and as helping people tell their stories. Why is it so important, Ron, that we actually hear about stories, especially from older people?
Well, the stories are important because lived knowledge is very important to pass on, particularly since a lot of that isn't recorded in our history books or isn't part of our national memory. So it's really about filling in gaps. I did this project which centered on the Chinese American community, which resulted in a book and an exhibition that was featured at the Wing Luke Museum. But it was focused on the elders in the community, and I found it really enriching. I love sitting down with older folks and finding out what they went through, and then from that, getting some sense of their contributions to the society and some of the struggles that they faced in achieving whatever they achieved. And you find inspiration there. So I'm inspired by all the stories that folks have to offer, particularly the seniors. And I'm hoping that AARP becomes a vessel for that because of the many seniors that we interact with.
I think that's a fabulous vision. I mean, I think we want to capture our history and to tell more stories about the everyday person as well as those who rise to being famous. And I think there are so many contributors that help make up Washington State and why it's a place that we want to live in and want to be in.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to, Marguerite, the opportunity to get to different pockets of the state, whether it's Spokane or Tri-Cities or South Sound. There's stories everywhere, and there are people doing amazing things, contributing back to their community, particularly a lot of, again, seniors who have the opportunity to work with others in their neighborhoods, and there's that sense of purpose that AARP can provide to folks to just continue to contribute, regardless of whether they're 80 or 90 or 100. There are ways to contribute.
So what drives you, Ron? What gives you a sense of purpose in life?
I am driven every day by a sense of gratitude that I'm still here in my 7th decade, able to offer something of value to others. It's working with others and collaborating that gives me joy. As you get older, that people often talk about this happiness curve, this U-shaped curve, where when you're a younger person, child, growing up, those are happy days. In your middle years, things aren't as happy. As you get older, despite physical challenges, it's one of the happiest times of your life. And I feel that way because you don't know how long you have, how much time is left in the hourglass, but every moment that you're here, you value, you treasure. And, this AARP opportunity to work with other volunteers and work together to create a better, more equitable society. Gosh, what an opportunity! It's joy to wake up and do my run and get out and volunteer.
I think that's it's not only admirable, but I think it's inspirational, right? And I think it is about wanting to get up every day and finding your sense of purpose, and no matter what confronts you.
Well, one thing I spend a lot of time on, Marguerite, is I mentor a lot of younger folks. And that truly is a gift to me that, they value me enough that they'll call me up and say, Ron, let's get together for coffee or tea. So I want to know, how did you guys organize the Chinatown International District area back when the buildings were deteriorating and there was no health care? How did you do all that stuff? How were the protests against the construction of the kingdom? How did those happen? And we can share stories because we each go through experiences. I learn a lot about I relive kind of some of the idealism of being a younger person without having to do all that stuff. And they're able to learn some lessons of, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this because it's going to backfire on us. So again, there's joy in every moment with particularly those intergenerational communications that I have frequently.
So as you sort of look through the decades, it's what has changed, or what opportunity do you think is ahead that can help us as we to create a more equitable, age-friendly world? What are you excited about?
Well, I think there's a lot to be done to create an environment where older adults can stay in their homes and not have to be institutionalized. So I was involved in fundraising for a facility that will be opening later this year. It's an aging in place facility on Beacon Hill. But it's really pivoting to the idea that let's keep people in our neighborhoods. Let's not isolate them in institutions. Let's build an environment of support around them so they can get the health care that they need, so that they can continue to be the knowledge bearers and keep the neighborhoods kind of intergenerational rather than single generation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to the day when we are able to create microenvironments where, like, I can go out late at night and it's adequately lit, and the sound is good enough so that it doesn't get all muffled as your hearing declines. I have some vision issues, and it'd be great to be able to see as well as I can with type that's big enough to, signage that's big enough to see. All these little things add up, and again, creating a more equal playing field for everybody, I think, is important, so that regardless of whether you're a young person, middle-aged person, or older person, regardless of your physical limitations, you can feel that this is a place that you belong.
That's true. I mean, whether it's your home, right, and
Yep.
making it safe, or trying to go out to restaurants, right?
Yep.
And I think you've raised the point of making sure that when we do events, we think about for folks who have challenges, whether it's with transportation or just making sure that we're thinking about how do we accommodate so that we are being more inclusive.
Absolutely. That's so critical.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about oral histories? Because I know that's something that's really important to you and something that you are working on.
Yeah, I've actually been talking to a bunch of folks about, well, first of all, I've done quite a bit of oral history work. I mentioned Chinese Oral History Project that I initiated back in the late 1980s, early 90s. And it was done in parallel with a group that was organizing a Chinese nursing home in Seattle, we were looking to provide care for an aging generation. My interest was, well, hey, those folks, we're not simply providing, medical care for them or a place for them to stay where they get the support they need, but let's talk to them about the past. Let's gather their stories, because that's important. So I worked on that project, and subsequently there were a number of projects, Japanese American community, Vietnamese American community, South Asian community, that I was involved in. But more recently, podcasting has been my thing, or my interest. I'm not a podcaster. I'm hoping to be. But I think that's a brilliant form for these kind of longer conversations, more in-depth conversations, where people can share stories of their life and their pearls of wisdom and a lot of interesting stuff to be mined there. So I'm hoping to create a podcast maybe in the coming year. We'll see.
So, Ron, I think you let me know that, or you did let me know that you watched or listened to a video recently from about AARP's founder, Ethel Percy Andrus. What was your takeaway?
It was amazing. It was actually just earlier today. Dr. Andrus, very inspiring person that I didn't know anything about. Someone who started AARP in her 70s. So I figure I'm in my 70s. Maybe I should start something, right? But she was a founding visionary who really had her start in as a high school principal, teacher, educator. Spent some time in Chicago at the Hull House, founded by Jane Addams, I believe. But she had a very compassionate vision of ensuring that folks, initially teachers, but later a broader vision of retired teachers and retired persons and older adults, that they needed to be supported with healthcare insurance initially. And then again, her vision began to grow by creating a society that valued older adults in an era where, this is even before Medicare was created. But she created a platform for really, again, viewing older adults as contributing members of society, and then advocating for what they wanted and needed. And then that vision was the founding of AARP. So I was super inspired. Here's an older adult who contributed and imagined this world where older adults are valued regardless of their age, and did all these things to pioneer a world that was more equitable, that provided the support that older adults needed, and opportunities for them to contribute. After listening to that podcast, I said, wow, AARP is really where I belong. I mean, I made the right decision to come here to step into the role as president of AARP Washington. So I'm thrilled about working with you and other volunteers to make some wonderful things happen.
Ron, we're so glad to have you with us. It's been great getting to know a little bit more about you, and I know there will be future opportunities. But maybe we end with this. What brings you joy?
As I mentioned earlier, as I've gotten older, I appreciate every moment more and more, because I realize the hourglass, is running, and you never know when your last day is going to be. I have a lot of friends who are facing health issues as is inevitable as you age. And so I'm grateful to be here with at least most of my cognition in place and some ideas about how I might contribute to AARP. The volunteers I've met through AARP have just been wonderful. They're amazing. I don't know if just because we're all a little older and have a lot in common in that way, but every day brings me joy. I've got 2 kids. I watch them grow and go through the struggles that I went through as I was younger, trying to find my path. I enjoy my community. I enjoy going out and running every morning, an hour and a half in the morning. People think I'm a little nuts in the neighborhood, but they see me, and it's like, okay, that guy with that headlamp, that bald guy running around the neighborhood, whatever. I enjoy these volunteer opportunities and being able to still have a significant impact on my community. And after watching that video, listening to that video podcast, I'm inspired that, wow, I get to build on Dr. Andrus's vision. This is really where I belong.
Well, I really thank you. I mean, we have an opportunity to not only help change sort of our systems that provide us health care and transportation and housing, but we also get to help do activities that really bring joy and connectedness. So, who knows, Ron? Maybe we will start a running club. I think I have heard you talk about how hard it is sometimes to get older adults to join you running. Maybe we'll figure that out.
Well, I got to tell you, the funny thing is my running actually has inspired younger folks, not so much my peers, but younger folks. It's like, God, this old man still goes out and runs every morning. I guess I better get off my butt and do something. So it's actually impacted younger folks more so than older folks.
Okay, but at what age did you start running?
Well, I was I casually did some occasional running back in the 70s, post-college. Because that was the start of the running boom.
Okay, so you've always been a runner?
Well, during the years when my kids were younger and I was raising them, there was a hiatus of about 20 years. But I really took up running, I tell folks, when I was 58 and a half. So it's never too late.
I'm not 58 yet, but when I turn 58, which is going to be soon, maybe I will take up running.
There you go. We'll go on a run together.
Oh, my God.
And in fact, we can have AARP sponsor a race. How's that?
We could look at maybe doing that. I'm not sure of what I've just gotten myself into. That and maybe a book club, because I think you and I have also talked. Maybe we should do some book clubbing or something. I know we have AR book clubs, but something maybe a little more local.
Well, and that speaks to this notion of continuing education. We invest a lot in younger folks and their education. We should do a similar kind of thing for older adults and provide some underpinnings so that they can continue to learn and grow, and contribute in ways that are meaningful.
Absolutely. Okay. So for those of you who are watching this podcast, if you are interested in starting to run, if you're already a runner, kudos to you. But if you are interested in starting to learn how to run, maybe we'll find a way to take that up.
That would be awesome. Yep.
I'm not sure I can get up at 4 or 5 in the morning every day, but at a more reasonable time. Ron, thanks very much for being with us today. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun for me as well. Thank you.